ACY.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Thursdays here at Hail Varsity Radio. We're presented by for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and the show is live for you on the Hail YouTube channel. Can watch there, can follow along on the Hail Varsity Twitter handle as well at HVarsity Radio, and in the StreamYard, ESPN Lincoln's Twitter, and also ESPN Lincoln's Facebook. A new coach to tell you about, Pete Thamel of ESPN.com reporting Tony White is to be your new defensive coordinator for Nebraska. That name, we'll say right field because it's upstate New York versus way out of left field. But some research, some feverish research has been done on Tony White. Thumbs up for what he's been able to do at Syracuse and some of his career stops. We will dive into that. Sadness in Louisville as Nebraska volleyball is done for the year. Just an epic match with Oregon.
And so close to getting it done in the fourth set.
Man.
So close.
And I love volleyball. I respect the heck out of Cook and the program and the team. I just don't know. I'm just being honest. I don't know volleyball as well as some others, like Brandon Vogel. So Vogues will recap the season. Of course, he did the John Cook biography, Dream Like a Champion. Vogue's going to be with us from Hail Varsity from his football stronghold and volleyball stronghold in about 20 minutes or so. Really fun second hour. The in-depth, behind-the-scenes process to hire Deion Sanders from a man that was part of the search, Coach Gary Barnett, with us. We'll get Barney's take on that and also just what's been going on. And then we'll wind down hour two with the Pirate. Mike Leach joins us. So Coach Leach, we'll see what kind of fun conversations we get into with Mississippi State's head coach Mike Leach. Numbers to get in can join us right now on Hail Varsity Radio at 466-3776 466-3776 800-825-5865. I am not done with Deion Sanders, Mr. Matt Hansen. That is what's going to happen. If someone was part of the hiring process, we'll let them tell you the starting point to the finish line. If you don't like it, put your fingers in your ears. We're starting with the new defensive coordinator. We're getting there. When I hear about a guy named Mr. White, well, I think of this.
So you do have a plan. Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science.
Well, we'll see what type of science the 3-3-5 defense is. And so the rundown on Tony White, he is a UCLA guy. He's from Florida originally, and then spent a lot of time with San Diego State, Rocky Long, okay? And he's a disciple of that. The last 3 years at Syracuse have been really good for what their team has gone from to where they are now. I think every Husker fan's going to be honed in on Syracuse versus Minnesota this bowl season to see how that defense stacks up against the RPO and the Minnesota MASH offense. Speed, agility, and scheme are all parts of this defensive philosophy that makes it real special. And I think White was making just north of $700,000. He's 43 years old. He's never coached with Matt Rule before. Apparently, per Pete Thamel, he had multiple offers to be a coordinator somewhere, and you're giving up about 22 points a game. Syracuse was okay, 4-4 in conference, But I want to emphasize that Syracuse was just okay at 7-5. They were great if they could have gotten some complimentary football because their defense was pretty special. He has had freshman All-Americans, and he's had all-ACC performers, at least a couple of first or second teamers on defense. And from a recruiting standpoint, just a little history here on Tony White. Tony White's been a G5 Recruiter of the Year twice when he was at San Diego State 2011, 2013. He's a top 5 recruiter in the country, named by rivals that honor to him in 2014. And he's climbed his way up from San Diego State to Arizona State, from Arizona State to Syracuse, and he's been a major reason they have made the jump from 1-9 to bowling under Dino Babbers. So it's a nice get. It's a Rule hire, as in he's 43 and he connects well with the kids. Elijah, you've done a little more research on the scheme here, and I've reached out to some coaches, and they're like, look, this defense is really hard to scheme. On its face, you're like, okay, how does this work with a 3-3 in the, well, not even front seven? How do you stop Michigan running the football? How do you stop Wisconsin running the football? How do you stop Minnesota, Iowa? I think the 3-3-5 is probably okay against USC and UCLA and Ohio State. Who knows what the schedule will look like in the future. But overall, you get the right personnel, your defense can dictate.
Well, the 3-3-5 on its face sounds like, well, that's not a fit for the Big Ten. And I'm not trying to defend it here because this hire actually to me is a little bit more of a head scratcher than Donovan Raiola. And I'm not saying I think it's a bad hire. It just was so out of left field and such a change in scheme that it makes me go, okay, this doesn't really seem to fit with what Matt Rule was preaching in his press conference, aside from the fact that it's another young coordinator who is going to be looking to prove themselves, going to have that energy.
It fits when it comes to him emphasizing speed.
Well, yeah, and I'm getting there for a second. This defense comes down to being pretty multiple. And at Syracuse, if you dive into the stats, they had more than 3 guys on the line of scrimmage for about 50% of their plays. And if you look at how the ACC works, like most conferences, about 50% of your downs that you play as a defense total are rushing downs. Mm-hmm. So whenever it's a rushing down, for the most part, there's going to be 4 or 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. You're only going to have 3 guys with the hand in the dirt. And the 3 guys with the hand in the dirt, what is emphasized with those guys is speed over power, and that's been something that's been complained about this Husker defensive line for a couple of years now. It's not a defense that is attempting to go mono against some of these really physical Big Ten offensive lines. Will that work? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But how this defense likes to go and attack the run is on rushing downs have either 4 or 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, and then they want to be really interchangeable with those linebackers. All of those linebackers, 3, and you could really argue 4, that 5th secondary member that is part of the 3-3-5, the 5th secondary member is very similar to the Peso defense that Nebraska played back in 2010, where it's Eric Haig, who is a guy who's almost a hybrid linebacker / secondary guy, where on rushing downs he plays more like a linebacker. On passing downs he's going to play more like an underneath zone defender that is got the speed of a defensive back. And again, that comes back to the interchangeability here. All your linebackers, they want to be able to blitz. All your linebackers, you want to be able to cover. That rover guy is going to be able to play linebacker and safety and cornerback depending on the situation. It's all built on this defense being very interchangeable, and how it's going to stop the run is these 3 defensive linemen are going to have some sort of slant or a stunt just about every single play, and then of those linebackers behind them, the offensive line is not going to know who's coming, who's blitzing until the snap has already happened. So how this defense likes to stop the run, and it's something you and I were talking about before the show, Schmidt, is it's not going mano-a-mano. It's not using power to go up against these power rushing attacks of the Big Ten. It's trying to outsmart these Big Ten offensive linemen and saying, you know what, you're going to see what we have 6-7 guys in the box here, which there's almost always 6-7 guys in the box in this defense. It comes down to who is going to be coming, who's going to be blitzing, and who's going to be dropping into a pass coverage. That's what this defense is predicated on, the fact that it's trying to keep an offense off balance. You don't know who you have to block because you don't know who's coming, and confusion is not the right word of what it's trying to cause an offense. Probably
slow them down.
But yeah, it's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to make you, on the snap of the ball, make an offensive lineman think and go, wait, who do I have to block again here? I wasn't expecting that guy to blitz. There's always, pretty much in this defense, going to be more than 3 guys coming after the quarterback or trying to stop the run. The 3-3-5 is a little bit of a misnomer in that sense. It's just there's 3 down defensive linemen, and you're going to be bringing guys from all over the place, but it's built on speed, it's built on blitzing, and it's built on attacking an offense. That's what this defense is built on. Will it work in the Big Ten? The jury is still out for me here, but I think there is some potential if you can build the right pieces within this defense.
Well, the personnel is always key, right? And you look at Syracuse, they were really good at getting after the quarterback this year. They were number 16 nationally in sacks. They were number 19 against the pass. They were top 30 in total defense. They were 68th against the rush. And that's what is the question here. When I think of the ACC, who's a downhill, rugged run team? And I mean, Pitt wants to be. They are more so now than with post-Whipple era. Clemson's chuck it around. Miami's kind of chuck it around. I mean, North Carolina, NC State. I mean, just go through some of the teams. And I know football's more pass happy. I know football's more 7-on-7, except in the Big Ten. Okay? Except in the Big Ten. Michigan's king of the hill because they are great against the run and they are really good at running it. Ohio State just out athletes and out talents you. They've got 5 stars that are good dudes, but they're not what they once were on the line of scrimmage. And you look at the basketball on grass that's existed in the SEC. It caught up with Tennessee. Okay, towards the end of the season, you look at Georgia. Georgia and Michigan are pretty much throwbacks, right? And listen, TCU's more of a athletic defense than a fire hydrant, let's plug the run hole type defense. So you can get down a lot of different ways if you coach it right, you scheme it right, you tackle, and you put pressure on an offense. So I'm not throwing away a 3-3-5 scheme. Well, presumably that's what he brings with him, and you got to talk now about what fits Nebraska's current personnel.
And I look at the current personnel, and it seems like there's going to need to be a lot of turnover between now and next season, especially along the defensive line. It doesn't seem to fit up with what Syracuse has been doing, and maybe he's got a plan going to the Big Ten to try to make this 3-3-5 work with some bigger defensive linemen to try to stand up, but based on the history of the 3-3-5, it doesn't suit guys like Ty Robinson. It doesn't suit guys like Nash Hutmacher.
Not that it can't.
Not that it can't, but how the defense is built and how it's been executed at Syracuse, that is not a fit whatsoever. Even back at the linebacker position, a guy like Nick Henrich doesn't really seem to fit this defense very much. I mean, it is very, very focused on speed, especially at the linebacker position. Mm-hmm. And then your defensive line is supposed to be guys who can slant and who can stunt and who can really confuse an offensive line in that way, just in that, whenever you got a double team, you're going to be blocking somebody, he's going to slant right at you. You're not expecting that. And then when you're trying to get up to the linebacker, well, now that linebacker has blitzed, he's not where he was before the play. You don't know who you're going to be double teaming to now. That's where the confusion comes in from an offensive line. And to do that, you need speed. It's a defense that benefits guys like Caleb Tanner. Caleb Tanner would be a great fit for this defense. Mm-hmm. Garrett Nelson, another good fit for this defense. I think back to
who'd be the best fit?
Casey Rogers. I know he transferred away after last season, but he's a guy that would have fit the 3-3-5.
You know who'd be the best fit for this 3-3-5? He's probably in Columbus, Nebraska right now.
Ernest Hausman.
Ernest Hausman.
Yes.
Think about Ernest Hausman in this defense. And if I am Tony White, Mr. White, as we call him.
First phone call I'm making.
No, I'm going there before I go meet Coach Rule. I'm like, hey, let's go hang out. Don't go anywhere. Don't go to Iowa. Butkus winner, by the way, Jack Campbell for the University of Iowa. So that's your rundown. We'll get Vogues' take on Nebraska's new defensive coordinator, Tony White, Mr. White as we call him. And the thing is I think this guy's a really good teacher where this sounds like uber confusing and do I have my assignment down? Can I play fast? That type of thing. Okay. You saw guys thinking too much up to Oklahoma this year. And then you saw Bush pare it down and just say, go do your job, go hit somebody, go make a tackle, go play fast. And you saw the defense shave off a touchdown a game. Okay. So no, this is a hire. Rule did his homework. He touched base with a lot of people, and he's like, okay, everyone's coming back to the fact that this dude's really good. He's really young, and he has been to different stops and spots, and he's a recruiter first. I mean, he's been a dynamite recruiter where he's at. He's been a reason they've gone bowling this year because of what the defense has done. The offense at Syracuse right now is ranked 90th in the country. So, and I think you look at all these names and pieces, there's several recruits that I think could fit. But ultimately, Nebraska's offense and defense is going to be based on speed. We talk every week with Coach McBride, and he has said it a lot. You got to be faster. And Nebraska, to their credit, when they were great, they were a little unique. Mm-hmm. They had a couple of dudes in the middle, be it a Christian and Jason Peter or a Terry Keneally, but they had some just beasts off the edge that were fast, more of the outside backer with their hand in the dirt, and then they had safeties as outside backers.
Well, this is going to resemble that somewhat with speed, with being downhill, with playing aggressive. What worries me is the fact that it's relatively unproven within the Big Ten.
Well, you know what? Maybe, dare I say it, the Big Ten will have to adjust to the 3-3-5.
Oh, no.
If you're not already a Hail Varsity subscriber, what are you waiting for? Sign up for a Hail Varsity subscription to receive exclusive breaking news coverage of Nebraska football, volleyball, and more. Subscriptions include 10 print issues of the Hail Varsity magazine per year, the annual Hail Varsity football yearbook, plus complete access to everything on hailvarsity.com. Visit hailvarsity.com to sign up today and get your first month free.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The holidays are here, and it's time to celebrate at Hail Varsity Club. Whether you're looking for an in-business lunch or a 100-person holiday party, Hail Varsity Club offers an elevated experience with food and drink packages sure to please any crowd. There are only a few premium dates left in December. Visit hailvarsityclub.com to learn more about the private events and book yours now. If you're not already a Hail Varsity subscriber, what are you waiting for? Sign up for a Hail Varsity subscription to receive exclusive breaking news coverage of Nebraska football, volleyball, and more. Subscriptions include 10 print issues of the Hail Varsity magazine per year, the annual Hail Varsity football yearbook, plus complete access to everything on hailvarsity.com. Visit hailvarsity.com to sign up today and get your first month free.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Open wide. Let me see that smile.
There's a back-to-school braces boom at Doc Kelly's office.
Can you hold on for a sec? Can someone bring me more brackets?
She needs to realign herself on Indeed. Match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time at Hail Varsity on a Thursday, presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel Mike Leach in 1 hour, and Coach Barnett kicks off hour 2. We welcome in author with John Cook, managing editor with Hail Varsity, Brandon Vogel with us at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. He is in his football/volleyball office. We need a Wilson with some fake, blood palm to the right of Vogues' football he got from Bear Bryant. Vogues, listen, we'll start with volleyball before we get into Mr. White, the new defensive coordinator. And what an effort, what a match, what a year for Nebraska. But it feels so weird to talk about the season being done before an Elite Eight or Final Four.
Yeah, it really does. And, through 3 sets of that match, you looked at Oregon's hitting percentage, and Nebraska was kind of executing his plan, had a pretty good edge, had a chance to win that second set and didn't. And then, of course, the fourth set was kind of an epic. And Oregon, I think, hit over 400 in that set and then over 500 in set 5, which was, a route we don't see very often against Nebraska. So tough way for it to end. Nebraska had its chance to kind of put that match away at a couple different spots, I thought, and wasn't able to get it done. The loss of Kinsey Knuckles was tough. We knew that when it happened. We knew that after watching their first 2 matches against good teams, tournament teams in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Immediately after that, and that without her and the shock that I think gave them when it happened, this might have been about kind of the level they were at, which isn't saying anything bad about Nebraska. I don't think. It's just kind of sometimes those injuries are exceptionally ill-timed, and I think that was the case here for the Huskers.
And the thing about this match, Brandon, today is that in the fourth set, it really looked like the Huskers were on their way to victory whenever it was battling late, and they had a couple chances at set points. And we can all assume that the team is going to be thinking back on that set in those last few points with a lot of regret this offseason. But what was your take as you were watching? I really felt like the Huskers were about to put this thing away.
Yeah, it did. My take is the Big Ten Network apparently thought the Huskers had put it away because they tweeted that Nebraska advanced. And I was like, is my stream that far behind? As this was like a 26-26 match. The Huskers did not advance. So I blame the Big Ten Network. No, just kidding. That's the thing. It's Cook's mantra. He's really emphasized it this year. It was something we talked about when doing the book. 2 points better. And when you get up into these rounds of the NCAA tournament, when you play NCAA tournament teams, that's what it comes down to. And you just kind of got to find a way. And Nebraska wasn't able to this time. The defense, those hitting percentages that Oregon hit in those last 2 sets, you don't see very often against Nebraska. And credit to the Ducks, I guess, on that front.
Brandon Vogel with us from HailVarsity.com and magazine, and of course, co-author with John Cook, Dream Like a Champion, in stores for your holiday picks, of course, with Hail Varsity subscriptions. GBR is the code, HailVarsity.com/subscribe. So let's switch gears and talk defensive coordinator, Vogues. And where was Tony White or Mr. White on your bingo card? Was he on your bingo card?
He was not. I like to think I'm pretty up to speed on kind of some of the coordinators, at least, maybe not position coaches who are kind of bubbling up and making a name for themselves. And my reaction to the Tony White news was, wait a second, who again? And that's not a bad thing because I've gotten acquainted since then, and I'll blame some of my bias against watching games in the Carrier Dome on this. I haven't watched a ton of Syracuse football over the past couple of seasons, but he kind of comes from the Rocky Long tree. Spent 9 years at San Diego State. I think he was recruited by Long at UCLA. And Rocky Long's a coach I've long respected, particularly on the defensive side. So that's a pretty good recommendation right there. He's a little bit of a younger coach, relatively speaking, in coaching terms. I haven't dug into his recruiting a whole lot yet, but you've seen some comments out there that he excels on that front. So I think this is a kind of exciting and potentially energetic hire. You got the feeling, and we talked about this earlier. What does it mean that Phil Snow isn't already here? And, the writing was kind of on the wall with that. And you've got a big salary pool. You kind of go out and take a swing. I would say White is one of those guys who might be more respected amongst his industry peers than he is a household name, like say a Jim Leonard. And that's okay. It's a little bit more intriguing on that front, if less of maybe a sure thing, but his track record is pretty impressive from what I've been able to garner so far.
Well, you go down the comments here from Jordan, from Curtis, to Brennan. And that's kind of our knee-jerk take. Again, we don't coach nor do we recruit. Our job is talking about it, but there's a little freak out going on. There's a freak out going on with Raiola retention. There's a freak out going on with the 3-3-5 and Michigan lining up with 3 tight ends to murder you. So, folks, let's talk both of these things out while we got you. First, the 3-3-5 and sticking with Mr. White. And I just imagine a fedora, mustache, and black shades. That's going to be his own little black shirt spin. It can work anything can work with the right personnel, right? That's, I guess, my take. Let's see it work. But your take on the 3-3-5 part B of this is Raiola and rolling his sleeves up with this offensive line.
Yeah, anything can work with right personnel. Anything can work if you just execute what you're doing better than what your opponent is able to do, which really, when you get right down to it, I think is, if you wanted to put an umbrella over why Nebraska has been what it's been, it's that. And it's not a very exciting answer. It's kind of a coach answer, but, they say that all the time because it's an easy answer, but it's also really true. And I understand, the 3-3-5, it doesn't seem like a natural fit. It's not what you think of classically with the Big Ten, but, up until this year. And I've long thought it's easier to identify kind of scheme pieces of things with offense than it is defense, because really it kind of starts and ends defensively with, are you a 4-3? Are you a 3-4? Are you a 3-3-5? Nebraska played a lot of time prior to this with 3 down linemen, so that's not the issue. Like, is the difference really that the title of it has a 5th defensive back instead of a 4th linebacker? Because those things are all blurred in today's college football. So I get the apprehension. I don't think it's a non-starter for me.
Well, Brendan, I think the pro to the 3-3-5 and what it was kind of built to do is the fact that it's very multiple and you can really adjust to what the offenses are doing very well with this defense, because there's a lot of interchangeability throughout the 2nd and 3rd level where guys can kind of fill different roles based on body types. And that's what this recruiting and roster flip has to kind of be for the defense, is to find some guys that can be interchangeable in that back end. But I don't think a lot of people realize that this 3-3-5 defense, it's first of all, not going to have just 3 guys along the lines of scrimmage based on what he did at Syracuse, Coach White. You have 4 and 5 guys along the lines of scrimmage a lot and only 3 down linemen, but you still pack the box just a little bit. And this defense was originally created to stop the emergence of the pro style in the late 90s, the early 2000s. It has a history in first stopping the run and then still being able to stop the pass. So I don't think that the 3-3-5 moniker, which initially sets off warning bells of, only 3 down linemen, it's going to get absolutely run over in the Big Ten. I don't think that's necessarily fair for this defense.
I would agree. And, a lot of it does, to Chris's point, too, depend on personnel. If you're 5 in that 3-3-5 is JoJo Doman, you can do a lot of things, right? And I mean, and we saw that at Nebraska, which I guess at that point was nominally a 3-4 that spent a lot of time in nickel because they had someone like JoJo Doman who could allow them to get into a bunch of different things. I mean,
which a 3-4 in nickel is essentially a 3-3-5.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Especially with a guy like Doman that erases everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, and everybody in college football is looking for those guys. They're tough to find. And Nebraska, it's not that it put itself in in a disadvantageous position. It's just you're going to have to compete. And I mean, there's no spot in my mind in the recruiting world that's more competitive than defensive line. You're looking for slightly different body types with 3 down versus 4 down. But you are looking for one less, if that's a positive. I mean, so much of defense and so much of football in general, I think when you look at it, teams that win conference titles, teams that win national titles, it's just about physicality. It's less about scheme. I understand, like, I'm super intrigued by scheme. It's fun to talk about, but when you get down to it, like, are you more physical than your opponent? And Nebraska hasn't been for a while. And that's going to define the Huskers defensively going forward, much more than however they align at the snap.
Brandon Vogel with us from Hail Varsity, managing editor and co-author with John Cook, Dream Like a Champion. A lot of comments coming in from YouTube. Terry says, hopefully White can change the D to fit the players. Mike says, where'd the $7 million go? All of these assistants combined are worth $3 million tops. Our friend Chad in Hastings emails in Chris@HailVarsity.com. I could be mistaken, but doesn't Iowa State and Coach Campbell run a 3-3-5?
They do. It's different. It's different.
They seem to be able to stand up to Iowa pretty well, but that's only one Big Ten opponent. Without divisions moving forward, you're going to have to be able to.
We got to stop the high-flying attack that USC is going to have, just the same as you have to stop Michigan.
You know who did that? Utah. What's Utah run, Vogues?
I don't know off the top of my head.
If they run a 3-3-5, we're all high-fiving. Vogues, real quick, about 20 seconds. What's coming up from you and Hail Varsity this weekend and beyond? I know busy recruiting and volleyball's on your guys' mind.
Yep, busy recruiting weekend coming up. December issue goes to print on Monday, which, of course, will be largely devoted to Coach Rule, the assistant hires. Brady Oltman's staff writer has, I think, a pretty exciting story about just Rule's kind of the formative parts of his career in State College as a high school player. I took kind of a deep dive at what was a banner year, I think, for year one coaches in 2022. And what's fair to expect right away for Nebraska. So if you're not a subscriber, get in now to make sure you get that December issue.
Jimmy, always say 10 minutes on the HailVarsity.com/subscribe. Vogues, there he is.
Making Moves is brought to you by Lincoln Jobs.
After redshirting his first year at Ohio State, Joe Burrow spent the next 2 years as JT Barrett's backup. With Dwayne Haskins on the roster, Burrow didn't see much playing time and decided to transfer. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron zeroed in on Burrow and landed him. In his second season at LSU, Burrow led the Tigers to a 15-0 record, a national championship, and arguably the best season ever by a college quarterback.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
You know that feeling when your football team adds that one player with every skill they've been looking for? It's time your business knew how it felt too. LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 850 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to the most qualified candidates so you can start hiring the right people. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
'Twas the night before approval, and I heard all through the city. I want a nicer, newer car, but my credit, oh, what a pity. I wanted a truck, mama, an SUV, but maybe a car'd be more practical. We'll see. There arose such a noise on my radio. I knew right then I had to go see Approved by Joe. He asked, have you been turned down before? Still making payments on that old sled? Worried about getting Scrooged? Come here instead. With very quick work and very little pain, I heard Approved by Joe call them by name. On Chris, on Josh, on Sam, Don, and Lorenzo, on Andrea, on Kendall. Let's get these customers handled. When what to my wondering eyes did appear? With $5 down, a credit approval, my dear. Joe wants your trade, he'll pay more than anyone, and his team won't quit until they get your deal done. With our For the People credit approval process, bring us $5, bring us your trade, we'll take out the stress. I heard him exclaim as I had the store in sight, happy approvals to all, and to all a nicer, newer ride. I'm Joe Clemens, and I'm your dealer for the people. Come see us at Capital City Automax or online at approvedbyjoe.com. Approvedbyjoe.com. www.approvedbyjoe.com.
All terms subject to approval. Some minimum requirements. Ho, ho, ho.
Head to ESPNLincoln.com now and enter for your chance to win a $25 Jet Splash Car Wash gift card. Jet Splash Car Wash gift cards make the perfect holiday gift for anyone on your list and excellent stocking stuffer. Go to ESPNLincoln.com now and enter for your chance to win a $25 Jet Splash gift card, and head to jetsplash.com to see complete info on their locations, hours, memberships, and offers. Jet Splash Car Wash, Lincoln's premier spot for a spotless wash, online at jetsplash.com.
Hello, neighbor. It is Animal or Super C convenience stores, where they feature Township 9 coffee, named for the Township Charter territory we now know as Lincoln, Nebraska. With a Super C punch card, I buy 5 coffees or fountain drinks, and I get the 6th one free. And you can too. Start your day with a hot mug of Township 9 coffee. Choose your favorite flavor from Hazelnut Hill to Twisted Creek, or sample the seasonal blends. Get up and get your morning started right at any of the Super C 10 locations, where they're always happy to see you in the mornings.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back to you, Hail Varsity. Busy second hour. So just to lay it out, Gary Barnett will be with us, get his take on the world of college football hires and all that good stuff. And then we'll talk some recruiting with Mike Leach and just get weird with the Pirate around 5:25. So stay tuned for that. Can stream us different ways, and you're invited to subscribe to the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Can watch the show live Monday through Saturdays, quite honestly, on that channel. Can follow us on Twitter. 2 different ways to watch the show on Twitter, at HVarsity Radio, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed. That's also where you can wake up in the morning and catch Damon and Andrew, Coffee and Cream, phenomenal show. Get your morning started the right way with some sports.
Well, and speaking of Coffee and Cream, I want to give a shout out to them for inspiring us on this YouTube live stream. And if you guys like the live stream, if you don't like the live stream, give us some feedback. This is new for us this week, but
I will trim my nose hair this weekend.
They started doing that last week, though, and I had a couple people reach out to me and say, hey, it would be awesome if Hail Varsity Radio was on the live stream. And we worked through some behind the scenes issues and are now live streaming on YouTube. So if you like that, drop a review, give us some feedback. We do the show for you, and we'll make adjustments as necessary if you guys think they're necessary. So.
Facebook Live also with ESPN Lincoln and the ESPN Lincoln Twitter. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. So let's ballpark this. We've spent the first part of this hour, a little bit of volleyball. We'll have John Cook's opening comment here before this hour's done, but open the phones up for you here till 5. And what's your take here? What is your reaction as a Nebraska fan here with the hire? Knee-jerk reaction is what with Tony White, the new defensive coordinator? Are you Are you in the camp of, I don't know that this 3-3-5 sounds good for the Big Ten? Or are you like, it's new, it's different, it's rules, so let's give it a shot and give it some time? And I think the way things have rounded out with him, this is all new. Something different had to be done. And this is different. This is a guy that Rules never worked with before, but he's been well respected. He's with a coaching, well, at least a defensive coaching tree that's well respected. Moonbot says Yant leaving really hurts. And I'm confused with the defensive coordinator.
Well, I want to get into that for just a second,
Sure.
because Vogue said something that really resonated with me, and it's something that I've believed through my football watching career the entire way, and that's that any defense can work if properly executed and properly tinkered with to fit whatever team you're playing. Any defense can work. The question in my mind, which makes me scratch my head just a little bit, is the fact that Matt Rule came into this introductory press conference and said he's a line of scrimmage guy and he's a guy who believes in physicality. And I'm not saying this defense isn't physical, but it's not meant to go up physically mano-a-mano against really, really big offensive lines. That's not how it's built. It's built to attack those offensive lines with speed and make them think and kind of disrupt their game plan in that way. So it doesn't quite line up with what Matt Rule said he wanted to bring to the team in the press conference. And it makes me wonder, similar to what we were talking about with Raiola yesterday, was Tony White choice number one to be defensive coordinator, or is this someone that Matt Rule ended up settling on because guys like Phil Snow said no, and guys like
Jim Leonard.
Did all these guys say no, and now you're
Collins.
settling on Tony White? There's a lot of names that were out there, and it doesn't quite seem to line up with what he said he wanted in the press conference.
Well, there's different ways to skin a cat. Right. And
Sure.
well, there is. And I know what we're used to is just lines of scrimmage and the trench warfare and bodies smacking into one another. And that's not been real good or gone real well for Nebraska. Think about the 3-yard quarterback sneaks that have existed this year, right? Where you have 300-pound dudes that are insane in the weight room get blown off the ball because they're not low enough. They're not low man. So it's odd, it's different, but I'm not saying it can't work. But I don't think Rule's the type of guy to walk in and think he knows it all. I think he studied this job, and he can try, stop me if you've heard this before, his way of doing things and be different. Like Purdue's offense is different, right? Like you look at Ohio State and Penn State, their offense, I wouldn't categorize as smash mouth. They're more finesse, and 9 times out of 10, you can't beat them. I'm not saying Nebraska needs to live in the finesse world, but it's going to be a new world without divisions.
It is.
So does the division shake up 3 years from now? Does this style, assuming things are going okay and Nebraska's going bowling again, and Nebraska's not been a liability or afraid of complimentary football, say you get one of the California schools, say you got to gear up against Iowa, say you get Wisconsin, say you get Michigan.
You get senior year Caleb Williams at USC lighting everyone up in the Big Ten for 400 passing yards a game.
Or you get senior year Caleb Williams with 7 pounds of ice on his body because he's played Utah 8 weeks in a row.
I'll just say, I don't think he's still going to be in college come his senior year, but you never know.
He will not.
I just want to throw one thing out there here, and that's that Nebraska has essentially run this defense before, and something I said back in segment 1, that 2010 Peso defense, Eric Haig, if you remember, that was a 4-2-5, which is essentially a 3-3-5 with a linebacker walk down on the line of scrimmage. That's essentially what Nebraska had back in 2010. If you remember,
I
that
love the
2010
defense was great. You know why it was great? Because you had Eric Haig, you had Fonzie, you had Prince, and I'm fairly certain you had a guy named Levante.
You had Jared Crick.
And Jared Crick.
I believe you also had a younger Baker Steinkuhler.
You did. Baker was a good ball player. So
and PJ Smith was that
safety.
Young starting safety? Was that his first year starting?
I think you had was Gomes still around or no?
No, his last year was 2009. Okay. I think it was PJ Smith's first year starting.
But you had Haig.
Mm-hmm.
No, you had Levante and you had Eric Haig. And then you had Fonzie and Prince.
But if you want to scheme for what I think this Nebraska defense might look like once it reaches its final form and you get the guys in, that 2010 defense is probably a pretty good indicator. It's stylistically very similar, and they even have the Peso defender, which is what the Rover is in the 3-3-5, and it's been called different things. It's pretty much a 3-3-5 that Bo Pelini kind of tinkered with to make it fit with what Nebraska's personnel had. And they call it the Peso, and that Peso defender has a different name pretty much everywhere you go. At New Mexico State, it was called the Lobo for a whole bunch of years. And then at Nebraska was the Peso, as I said. At Syracuse, Tony White calls it the Rover, which is what it's called a lot of places. That's what it boils down to. That's the Rover position. It kind of does a lot of things for the defense. But Nebraska's pretty much run this defense before, and you wouldn't think that when you see the 3-3-5 that Nebraska's run this defense with success, but they pretty much have, and there's some basis. That was in the Big 12, slightly different conference, and that's whenever the Big 12 kind of started to move more towards the air raid run and gun type offenses that we're seeing more recently in the Big 12, but it's worked at Nebraska before, and we'll see how it matches up in the Big 10. We haven't really seen it run to that extent within the Big 10 conference to date.
Quick thought too, with this staff that's being assembled, you've got guys that a lot of them are extremely excellent recruiters. They're young, they're energetic, they look for a fit versus a star. And I think that's something to think about too. While it may not look flashy and sexy, maybe they just know what they want and know how to get a player to be pretty good in the right amount of time. So there's several years of good football. TCU, Iowa State, they run a version of a 3-3-5. We'll wind down hour one on the way.
Hi, I'm the conservation coach. We're on the road promoting Lower Platte South NRD's forestry programs. Did you know they sell seedlings to landowners? They've got low-cost options for less than $1 each. That's less than a cup of lemonade. You can buy seedlings online November through March. And check out cost sharing on bigger trees for civic groups who need lots. Get your baby trees and pick the forestry program that's right for you at lpsnrd.org.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Lofi's Holiday Sweepstakes is back. The Bakers of Country Hearth would like to put a little more jingle in your holiday this season by giving you a chance to win one of two $500 prizes or the grand prize of $1,000. Winners will each receive a check that can be used for travel, gifts, or just celebrating with family and friends, whatever makes their holiday more jolly. For complete rules and to enter for your chance to win, visit countryhearthbreads.com/sweeps.
Why, yes, another morning and another day of Jet Splash's jaw-dropping holiday sale. Reginald.
Yes?
To Jet Splash we go. Marmaduke, Rutherford.
Yes?
To the car wash. Let us save $10 on a 5-pack of washes or $73 on a 22-pack.
And get the best deals of the year on annual memberships too.
That's right, Frederick. Nutcrackers unite.
It's jolly good.
Off the mantle and to Jet Splash Car Wash we go.
Shop online too.
Good afternoon from the 1011 Newsroom. I'm Cole Miller. Coming up, a survey sparking change. In light of sexual harassment claims within the Lincoln Police Department, the agency talks about what it plans to do differently moving forward. Plus, a mix of rain and some icy conditions across the state. Ken has your complete forecast. And the Huskers duke it out against the Ducks. Highlights from Louisville. These stories and more tonight.
I'm weatherology meteorologist Ray Miller with your capital city forecast. Winter weather advisory in effect tonight. Snow and freezing drizzle continue with a low of 26 degrees. Not much snow accumulation, but icy conditions. Friday, partly sunny with a high near 40 degrees. That's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Right now, it's 32.
Get your sports fix here. ESPN Lincoln is on the air at 101.5 FM and 1480 AM. Online at ESPNLincoln.com. And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, it's Hail Varsity Radio. We're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. And a reminder to get buckled up this holiday season. Buckle up now. We got all sorts of freezing rain outside that's just gross. So grab the hockey stick and ice skates and be safe on the way home. Buckle up. Using your seatbelt saves lives, prevents injuries only if properly worn. Buckle up. The message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Jeff emails in, or I should say chimes in on StreamYard, and we can see your comments, and we get to as many as we can. We got a ton of them, and we thank you for them. Yeah, he's like, whatever defense and offense Rule puts in, he has 8 years to recruit to and build to it. I think that's a very fair take.
Well, what's really important here, though, especially when I look at the defense today, is this can't be a musical chair situation with your defensive coordinator. The 3-3-5, at least I think, in my opinion, and I'm not a football coach, I'm not Coach White coming in and building this defense. I think it's going to take a pretty, I don't want to say monumental shift, but there's going to have to be a change in recruiting philosophy along the defense. You have to get some different types of guys in there. And this can't be a situation where you try to make this work for 3 years, it doesn't work, and then you install a more traditional 4-3 type. That's going to take so many years off your defense. And the transfer portal, it opens up some things to turn over your roster a little bit quicker. But I don't think this can be a failed experiment. If you fail with this 3-3-5, it's going to be Nebraska's defense down in the dumps
back
for years. It's gonna be a bad. I don't want to say omen, but just a bad sign for Matt Rule's entire tenure at Nebraska. So if this is a gamble that Matt Rule's making here with the 3-3-5, he better get it right, because I do worry about what a failed 3-3-5 will leave you in order to try to go back to a more traditional 4-3 within the Big Ten.
You're going to have your peaks and valleys with system and personnel, and you need to hit the ground running and be competent with whatever you're doing.
And I think Nebraska,
there's going to take a little time to build up to it, but at least with the Syracuse side of things, by year 3, they were really good. I think, like, case in point, when you're talking Peso and Dream Scenario's having an NFL guy at every level, like you did in 2009, and have an all-time great that can affect the game. I mean, that's what you may have with this pool of assistants. Go get some dudes they can turn into some great players.
And I think Nebraska could have some pieces within this defense that could be a fit in the 3-3-5 moving forward, and then you can go hit the transfer portal to try to make it work a little bit faster. But if you can keep Garrett Nelson around for another year, he fits the 3-3-5 really well. O'Shawn Mathis, same story with him. Faster, the ability to stunt, that's going to be so important for the defensive line. But then I look interior, and the guys that you have in there, Stephon Wynn, Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmacher, none of those guys seem to fit what this defense is trying to become. So I wonder if there's going to be some additions there, which you need additions there with how thin it's been, but then you're going to need some changes in body type too. I think Ty Robinson could maybe eventually get there, but the way his body is constructed right now, it does not seem like a match for the 3-3-5.
You need splash plays. I mean, too many times you're taking punches instead of giving them. And to Ty's credit, I mean, there were some splash plays there, and Feast as well. I mean, they would hit some TFLs, but too many times it wasn't the case. Chad emails in Chris@HaleVarsity.com. Who knows what the Big Ten's going to look like in a few years?
That's a great point.
I mean, it's true, right? Because Wisconsin just hired an air raid offensive coordinator.
Well, and that's why I think we got to the point we got to in the first segment, that this defense is able to stop multiple different types of offenses. It might not be stifling against all those offenses, but it's able to conform itself to be able to better stop
Don't
those.
suck. Okay, don't suck on defense and get in line. Everyone's getting run over by Michigan. It's not a you thing. It's a Michigan thing. Coach Barnett's on the way.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit FanDuel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
May I have your attention, please? I am so delighted that we are gathering to celebrate.
The Lincoln Wedding and Celebrations Show is back January 8th at the Embassy Suites downtown. Admission is free when you register online by January 6th. Visit with vendors including Sweet and Spicy Creations and enjoy a style show featuring Ellen Bridal, complete weddings and events, and Studio SPS.
The Lincoln Wedding and Celebration Show, Sunday, January 8th. Get your free tickets now at ESPNLincoln.com.
Running on empty? Don't let aging drain your body. Limitless Male can help you recharge safely under medical care. As you age, your body produces less testosterone, which can cause one or more symptoms: trouble sleeping, no energy, loss of muscle mass, poor concentration, belly fat, low sex drive, depression. Limitless Male can eliminate these symptoms with testosterone replacement therapy and re-energize your life. Schedule a free consult at limitlessmale.com.
From the John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Studios, this is KLMS Lincoln, the capital city's Husker Authority.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm
Christine Lisi. Russia has freed WNBA star Brittany Griner in a dramatic high-level prisoner exchange, with the U.S. releasing a notorious Russian arms dealer. This ends Griner's 10-month detainment imprisonment in Russia on drug charges. According to ABC News, she could arrive in San Antonio either tonight or tomorrow morning. Raiders tonight seek a fourth straight win and continue their push for a playoff spot when they take on the Rams in the opening game of NFL Week 14. Couple of reasons why Vegas has bounced back from a 2-7 start and could get into the playoffs, says Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty.
You're getting the return on investment with Devontae Adams. I think he just went over his 7th 100-yard receiving game on the year. That's what you traded for that guy for. Josh Jacobs finally fulfilling some level of promise that they had when they took him in the first round 4 years ago.
Chris Canty on Greeny. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports if Rams quarterback John Wolford's not healthy enough to play, Baker Mayfield would be in line to start. Mayfield claimed off waivers 2 days ago. Rookie Desmond Ridder will replace Marcus Mariota as the Falcons' starting quarterback the rest of the season.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Save big money at Menards and find the right tool for your drywall project with Senco. Senco tools make work easier and faster, along with quality you can trust. The Duraspin Auto Feed Screw Gun features blazing fast speed in a compact design. It's perfect for drywall, underlayment, and cement boards. Finish your renovations with the best tools for the job from Senco and find them at Menards. Plus, get a Menards gift card, the perfect gift this season.
Warm season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Anyone who has ever needed self-storage knows what a hassle it can be. You have to rent or borrow a truck and then find someone to help you move your stuff. And let's face it, moving furniture and heavy items without damaging them isn't easy. Renting the unit is worse. The hidden fees and admin costs are scarier than the dingy facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use ClosetBox instead? ClosetBox is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. ClosetBox's background check storage movers are licensed, bonded, and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. ClosetBox's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. ClosetBox has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off first month storage using code RADIO50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
If you have certain chronic conditions such as heart disease,
asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older, 52,
36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20.
I'm Dr. Stork. Why give your family just ordinary eggs when they can enjoy the best? Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition compared to ordinary eggs. With 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, 25% less saturated fat, and 38% more lutein. Because the way we care is anything but ordinary. Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're the one who protects the flock, and that requires an eye for detail. Because when safety and well-being are on the line, it's the details that can save lives. Even when no one else is watching, you see everything. Grainger gets you, and we're here for you, and all the ones who get it done with a wide range of safety products and solutions, plus board-certified safety consultants here to answer your questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Here's the Prilosec OTC. Without Prilosec,
I wouldn't be able to enjoy all this yummy holiday food. Speaking of, whoever made that apple pie, delicious. I just take one pill each morning and zero heartburn all day. So cheers to Prilosec OTC. Ooh, are those jalapeno poppers?
Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid that can cause heartburn, so you can enjoy the holidays. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Ah, yes, Christmas time. Sleigh bells are ringing. The Cornelius and the other nutcrackers are set up firmly on the mantle. And all over Lincoln, folks are saving a stocking full of cash on car wash memberships and bundle packs from Jet Splash Car Wash.
Is that right?
Yes, Cornelius. You could save up to $20 on 3-month memberships, $50 on 6 months, and $120 on annual memberships.
Wow.
By Cornelius, it is jaw-dropping. Shop online at jetsplash.com.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back into it. It's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity, presented by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. We head out to, well, Buffland. Hall of Fame coach Gary Barnett back with us. Coach, how's your week been with Coach Prime and company, man?
Well, it's as you can tell, there's been a buzz in Boulder and in the entire state and actually nationally, Chris. It's been I'm just sitting in at the golf shop yesterday, and just after a round, I'm looking up, and the only things on TV are Deion Sanders, Colorado, etc. I mean, we haven't had this kind of buzz in a long, long time, and there's probably a good week of it for sure, but it's I think we knew in the process that the only guy who could really shake things up quickly would be Coach Sanders. And he certainly has lived up to every piece of that.
Gary Barnett with us, Coach. I've been anxious. I always love talking with you each week. This week, though, can you give us a look or a peek behind the curtain with this process? I know that you've been leaned on for advice and some confidence with Colorado football administrators, people who know football, rightfully so, trust your take on things, and kind of go from starting point to finish line with Deion as much as you can share.
Well, I think when the process started, there were probably 30, 40 names out there that the guys on the committee, of which there were 3, brought to the table, and then they started to be discussed. And in that discussion, Rick George, the athletic director, said, "By the way, I got a call from Deion Sanders' agent." And my take was, Rick, there's going to be a lot of people get calls from Deion's agent. So, but let's just see what happens with this thing. So the next week, after some of the names have been sorted out and moved along and started the process, Rick says, "I think I'm going to go see Deion Sanders." And we just sort of thought, okay. But at the same time, Coach Rule was involved. And I think Rick also wanted to talk to Matt Rule. And then we had a number of other people in the process. And so all of a sudden now it's the middle of November. And guess what? Rick says, I think we got a chance to get this guy. And so I think everybody on the committee agreed that he would be the number one pick, but we certainly had to have a number two because they figured the competition was going to be pretty heavy and anything could happen in the last week when all the firings come up. Things you can't predict. All of a sudden there's jobs available, that might appeal to him, but also it means that there's guys available that may appeal to us. So the process just sort of kept going. And then, he's got a championship game to play and gives us indications that he's going to come to Colorado. And Rick says, well, I can't wait another 8 days. My fan base will kill me. And Rick called me and he says, what should I do? And I said, I got a job offer just prior to the Rose Bowl, and they told me, and it was a really, really big job. And I said, they wanted me to make a decision before the Rose Bowl. And I said, even if I do want to come, I'm not doing that. There's no way I'm walking out on this football team after what we've all been through. So you just have to find somebody else. And I said, I understand what he's saying to you here. And so, we've gone this far. Let's go another week. So we did, plays the game. And then, of course, everything started to come out. And it wasn't any big surprise that he came after the game because during that week, all sorts of things started happening, many of which I didn't know anything about. But he was calling recruits. He was preparing to really come. And he showed up. And off we go, and we're on the ride of our lives right now.
Gary Barnett with us, Hail Varsity Radio, the process of Coach Prime. Have you spoken with Dion? Did you have any communication with him? Has he reached out to you at all? Do you know him at all?
I do not know him. We have not talked. I am going to meet with him in the end of December for a while. And, but no, he's got his own deal going. I mean, he's got a machine, Chris. I mean, they were way ahead of everybody on NIL and the portal and social media. And I mean, it's a well-oiled machine. He's a smart dude. He surrounds himself with really smart people. So no, it's up and running. And I was maybe going to hang it up and not broadcast this year, but I can't pass this up. Shoot, as long as I can put a sentence together, I'm gonna try it again. So he's got his thing going, and as he says when he walked into that press conference, he says, "You smell that?" So that's not cologne, that's confidence. So.
He is gifted with gab, but
oh my gosh,
the thing that's nice about him is he might have all sorts of swag, but he is rooted in old school, Coach. I mean, he's a throwback football coach, isn't he? I mean, at least how he runs things.
Yep, he is, Chris. As he says, I may look like an old fool, but I'm old school. So, yeah, I mean, in his first meeting, he says, next time we meet, there'll be no hoodies, no earrings, no cell phones. You're going to sit up in your chair, no hats. And that's the way it's going to be. And so if you really want to see what he's about, go watch his meeting with the Jackson State team after the game when he tells them he's leaving. That is one of the most masterful, beautiful moments. When you have to leave a team, it's so hard. I just wish I could have done a third as well as he did when I did, and I had to do that. But that'll show you what this team feels about him and how he feels about them.
Gary Barnett with us, Hail Varsity Radio. The other name you mentioned in the Buff search was Matt Rule. Was he pretty high on the list? And how many different suitors do you think were after Rule, or do you have any clue?
I don't have any clue. We didn't worry about everybody else, but we were very interested in Matt, and I think his interest wasn't as high as ours, obviously, but our discussions were that he thought he was going to sit out a year, so and that's where it got left.
Well, and it really sounds like he was going to, and then it flipped 180. I mean, he really missed football. I think he'd had enough of not doing anything, and wanted to get back at it, and good job by Trev. So there's been blowback this week because this is one big soap opera still, and I love Nebraska. But Donovan Raiola, Donnie, the old Wisconsin center, and who was brought in last year to be the new offensive line coach, is the only member of the former staff that's been retained. There's a lot of blowback with that, but Coach, I'm interested with your take here on Raiola. I think it's tough to judge or blame per se Nebraska's offensive line play on Donnie, on Coach Raiola. I know it's his job, but there's a lot of different circumstances going on. I don't know that he and Whipple were a great fit, and you had injuries, so these aren't excuses. I think this is a reality. And Matt Rule likes to hire young guys and help mold people. Were you a coach like that? What's your reaction? What's your take with what Coach Rule can do in lockstep with Raiola to make that offensive line better for Nebraska?
Well, I think the relationship between quarterback coach or OC, offensive coordinator, and line coach is the most critical relationship on the team. And I know when Sean Watson and Dave Borberly were working together, it was like magic, man. I mean, they were just so in lockstep. And both were really good coaches. Both were detailed coaches. Borbs was a real technician. Players loved him. And then they teamed up again at Louisville. And when they were at Louisville, they were killing it. And so I know that relationship is really critical. And so Matt, I'm sure has a feel for that. Mm-hmm. And so whether there was a problem between Coach Whipple and Dominic, I'm not sure. I have no idea. But I do know that relationship's critical. And as I hired line coaches, I really wanted to listen carefully to what my offensive coordinator said, because all my staff was always in on the hiring. So, and they all went out and played basketball at noon without me, and they met with him without me. And I didn't want any surprises for the new guy, and I wanted their input on the whole thing. So that's pretty much the way I operated. I didn't care how old they were. I didn't care about that sort of stuff. I just wanted to know if they could pick up blitzes, and if they could relate to players, and if they were technicians and knew what they were doing. And the relationship with the offensive coordinator became really important.
Gary Barnett's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, the coaching carousel continues. Jim Leonard sounded like he was going to stick and stay with Wisconsin. He is now on the market. Do you think if you're Purdue, I know it's a 180 from Brom, if you're Purdue, do you try and go get Coach Leonard, or do you look elsewhere here? What's your take on Leonard and where he may land next?
You know, all this stuff is so unpredictable, and it comes down to relationships and who you know, and not so much who you know as to whether you get the job or not, but who you know, whether you're interested in the job or not. So, and I'm sure the other comes into play too, but I everybody's got a better feel for Coach Leonard than I do. I just see him from afar, watched him play in the NFL, and have watched his defenses, and I've been impressed with him. And so I'm not sure what's out there, what's the best place for Jim, but if he wants to be a head coach, there certainly is the Purdue thing. And then Purdue's got to decide whether they're going to go with somebody who's already been a head coach. And of course, Jim's experience here as an interim is critical. I mean, that's really good experience, just like Coach Joseph's was. But I don't know. I mean, Jim's certainly got a good reputation in the Big Ten, and it would make sense. But I didn't want anybody telling us who we should hire, and I'm certainly not going to put myself in that position for somebody else.
I get it. Everyone's got a take, right? So, Brom to Louisville. What do you think of that?
Well, I was watching the Purdue Michigan game, and I heard, I don't know whether Gus was throwing a little jab at Dion or not, but they were talking about Brome and how he was by staying at home, how staying at Purdue and not going to Louisville last time, and he's loyal, and then not so fast. He up and changes. So, he's going home. I understand it. I get that. The only place I was going to leave Northwestern for was Colorado. So, because that was home. So I get it totally.
I got to ask you, how much red is going to be in the stands on September 9th?
I don't think they're letting anybody in, tell you the truth. They're going to screen you, first of all. And everybody's looking forward to that game. Everybody. And 2 new coaches. I mean, how about the hype on that?
Oh,
they're already trying to get game day there. And who knows? I mean, we're opening up with TCU and down there.
Wow.
So, so we've got a heck of a schedule already.
Man, so I've been pulling along. This trip is going. We're going to be out in Boulder again. We were out 2019 and was out there with family and did just a lot of fun shows. Right, we were a ways from Folsom, but I may tap into you as far as a closer watering hole to set up with. But we're going to rent a Sherman tank. Mike Babcock's driving it, just so none of our vehicles get damaged, Coach. And Jay Moore's coming with us. All right, he's our muscle. And then
you got some muscle there.
and then Matt Schick, buff grad, proud ESPN man, is going to jump on board with us. And then I told everybody we're coming to your house for ribs. That sound like a good plan?
Yeah, well, I'll get back to you on that.
He's not taking my calls, folks. I'm kidding. Hey, I can't wait for it. It'll be good. Coach, we'll talk again. Thanks for the time today.
All right, Chris. Great being with you.
Good stuff from Coach Barnett. We'll get a little bit more time with him on Coach White next week. Buckle up. The Pirate, Mike Leach, next on Hail Varsity.
The holidays are here, and it's time to celebrate at Hail Varsity Club. Whether you're looking for an intimate business lunch or a 100-person holiday party, Hail Varsity Club offers an elevated experience with food and drink packages sure to please any crowd. There are only a few premium dates left in December. Visit hailvarsityclub.com to learn more about the private events and book yours now.
If you're not already a Hail Varsity subscriber, what are you waiting for? Sign up for a Hail Varsity subscription to receive exclusive breaking news coverage of Nebraska football, volleyball, and more. Subscriptions include 10 print issues of the Hail Varsity magazine per year, the annual Hail Varsity football yearbook, plus complete access to everything on hailvarsity.com. Visit hailvarsity.com to sign up today and get your first month free.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too. Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you're not already a Hail Varsity subscriber, what are you waiting for? Sign up for a Hail Varsity subscription to receive exclusive breaking news coverage of Nebraska football, volleyball, and more. Subscriptions include 10 print issues of the Hail Varsity magazine per year, the annual Hail Varsity football yearbook, plus complete access to everything on hailvarsity.com. Visit hailvarsity.com to sign up today and get your first month free.
The next generation of ED wave therapy is now at Limitless Male. Limitless pulse-focused wave therapy has clinically proven results for men wanting to improve their relationships. ED can be caused by age, heart disease, diabetes, or medication, and it won't get better on its own. Our new non-surgical wave therapy can help stop and potentially reverse damage. Take the ED quiz at limitlessmale.com. Get help from the men's health experts.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom with People City Mission.
We're Lincoln's homeless shelter, and this winter, the mission expects to house and feed over 80% of the city's homeless. Because when the weather gets cold out there, here's where people come to. But in this current economy, providing them with a warm bed and a hot meal, it's getting a lot harder to do. And we really need your help. So I'm asking you to please remember the homeless during this holiday season. Your support will really make a difference. Thanks so much, and God bless you.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. And we welcome in the head Pirate, Coach Mike Leach from Mississippi State. Coach, we got some rain today in eastern Nebraska. How you doing?
You know, back when I was in Iowa and I didn't have any money, I had a 79 Cadillac DeVille. And I'd go out there, and it would be covered. It looked like a sheet of glass. The whole thing covered with a sheet of glass. Trouble is, you couldn't get a key in anything. You couldn't get anything to move. We eventually get an extension cord and a hair dryer and try to melt the keyhole. And even that was slow duty.
Well, have you heard what they do in Alaska, where they'll actually go build a fire underneath their car to get everything de-thawed? It's
seriously,
yeah.
I've always wondered about that a little bit. I mean, isn't that how you blow up a car? Like if you watch movies and stuff? Yeah. I mean, well, of course, if you watch movies, a couple things on movies, and I think they're transitional, like, just vehicles to move around or eliminate characters. But, you got these cars, which we're driving them around all the time, and they get in wrecks all the time. But, in these movies, if you hit a car wrong, it'll just immediately blow up. As in, any car that goes off a cliff, of course, blows up. And then, they're awfully combustible. It's like, driving something fueled by nitroglycerin if it's on a movie. Okay, then the other thing that they love to do is anytime you need to eliminate a character or need a character to pause, you conk him on the head and knock him out for a little bit. And he passes out for whatever allotted time you need. And then, of course, he'll get up again. And, main characters may get knocked out several times while still prevailing in the end. And then, of course, villains will get knocked out until you can get past them or whatever's convenient, But the knocking out and yet, people come back bright and perky and letting it rip, Yeah. I think the concussion protocol people need to meet with the movie people and figure out how to recover in the fashion they do in movies.
Mike Leach with us, Hail Varsity Radio, head coach, Mississippi State. The extension cord and hair dryer, a 79 Cadillac, dealing with ice and rain. Man, we've gone a lot of spots already. It's awesome to spend time with you. You gave us, we are ready to pack up and take off for Ireland, which we did to start the season. And you gave us the art of swearing. We love that last conversation. I want to stick with the driving topic. You have kids. They've all had their license. Did you do most of the driver's ed in the family, or did you stay away from teaching kids how to drive?
I did some, because I wouldn't okay, so my wife on the driver's ed thing, she'll sit in the passenger side, but she's constantly stomping on an imaginary brake on her side and probably damaging the floorboard as she's constantly slamming her foot into the floor of the passenger side. She doesn't have the temperament to drive with new drivers. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't want to hit anything, obviously, but, I wouldn't get rattled and say, it'd be like, all right, you got to turn sooner. You better slow down. I just kind of inform them, just kind of one helpful tip, not a constant dialogue like my wife. Stop, turn, no, no, you got to look at that. Well, look right and left, and then no, stop. You know, it wasn't like that. It'd be like that wasn't very straight backing out. All right, now pull forward, not too fast, and then you ought to brake a little. And so that was more my deal. But to be perfectly honest, the public school system had more to do with them learning to drive than me or my wife, either one.
Does teaching driver's ed have any parallels to coaching a high-level Division I college football program?
I think it does. I got a good friend of mine, and this guy's iconic. This guy's like kind of a local regional hero in South Florida. Okay, so Jerry Hughes, former legendary football coach throughout South Florida. He coached at Miami High. He coached at several of them down there, and then also coached at Key West High School. Okay, so he's always been a driver's ed teacher, and in between. So he's a driver, and even now he doesn't coach anymore, but still does driver's ed. and he's the perfect guy to have for a driver's ed teacher, because he wouldn't notice much of anything, just sort of cruise along, drink his coffee or whatever, and he'd be perfect. But Jerry, like most football coaches, has no problem telling someone what they need to hear instead of what they want to hear. And driving, I think, is a critical enough thing with other people involved as far as doing it safely, that I think you need a guy like that. I would get extremely bored being a driver's ed teacher. It'd drive me crazy. But Jerry still is a driver's ed teacher, and there's got to be thousands of people on the roads right now that learn to drive with Jerry Hughes, including my son. My son, when we were down in Key West for 2 years, my son Jerry Hughes taught my son to drive, and so he's like the ultimate kind of knowledgeable yet gruff, crusty football coach and master's driver's ed instructor.
Mike Leach with us, a few minutes, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, I want to ask you about the living room. It's that time of year. It's early signing period. You're out recruiting. What's your approach in the living room with a prospect? And who did you learn the art of recruiting from? Who's been some really dynamic folks that you've been around? And, you've done a marvelous job through your career of landing high-profile talent, but also finding guys and developing really good football players.
Well, I think when you go into a living room, when you go into the living room, I think the biggest thing is act like you belong there. I mean, the people in the living room, it's their living room. I mean, don't mess with their TV or anything like that. I mean, but make yourself at home, and then but some guys come in just so wound up and uptight. I mean, where you're not going to belong anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I never wear a coat and tie. You're already, there's a little bit of a distance separation. They see you on TV, and now I'm going to come in some really uptight coat and tie. I never do that. You try to, like I say, it's like you belong in the living room. Mm-hmm. And so you want something kind of neutral, I think. And then, and just carry on the conversation, learn about one another. I think that's probably the most important thing, because on the visit and the phone calls, you learn a lot about the X's and O's and things of that nature. I think I've been around some great recruiters. I thought Hal Mummy was a really good recruiter. And then when I was coming up, and then I thought that, of course, Bob Stoops and his staff were really good recruiters. And then now I did become a head coach quick enough that I didn't have a ton of mentors in this, but I know that, the one thing everybody thinks kind of the super salesman, slick car dealer type of guy is the best recruiter. I know some of the most kind of boring's not the right word, but kind of understated, just the facts, only football type of football coaches who are great recruiters. And the one quality that all really good recruiters have is persistence. I know some of those really slick, sharp-looking guys, terrible recruiters. And I know some of the most dour-looking, grumpy football coach types, great recruiters. The one thing all great recruiters have in common is persistence, just persistence. Because you never know which call, which conversation, which letter is going to strike a chord. Persistence. Nothing replaces persistence. And then after that, you just got to be yourself. Those that are trying to not be themselves, I think, damage their effort. And then talent on the phone is good because, that's what you're allowed to do the most, if you think about as far as being close to somebody and think you're allowed to do the most often and the longest, it's the phone. And so people that are good on the phone and that you can just hammer away, not necessarily long, not necessarily, anything in particular, but persistence and good on the phone.
Coach Mike Leach is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Coach, let's say you're in a recruit's living room and you're 15, 20 minutes in the conversation. You just feel something isn't going right. Do you have any Coach Leach approved, tried and true methods to get that in-home visit back on track?
Sometimes it kind of depends what, but I think the more you can get the recruit and their family talking, one, the less likely that is to happen. Two, that's probably the best chance of getting it back on track. Get them talking. Listen to what they want. Listen to what they're looking for. Listen to, and then I think it's important to let them talk as much as they can anyway. The truth of the matter is people like to talk. They like it when they get to talk. Even shy people like it when they get to talk. And don't just open the door for them to talk, but try to coax them to talk, because I do think that strengthens the thing. And I do think a relationship's stronger, both sides if there's dialogue,
It's a Pirate Mike Leach. More with Coach Leach. We continue on Hail Varsity, presented by Currency.
Expand your tool set with professional power tools from Menards. Metabo represents the gold standard in nailers and cordless power tools. Whether you're at home or on the job site, tackle any building project with Metabo. When you need the best, turn to Metabo. Grab the Metabo 18-gauge pneumatic brad nailer, ideal for trim work and furniture building. Now on sale for $49.98. Sale price good through December 11th. Plus, a Menards gift card is always a great gift idea.
Season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Running on empty? Don't let aging drain your body. Limitless Male can help you recharge safely under medical care. As you age, your body produces less testosterone, which can cause symptoms: trouble sleeping, no energy, loss of muscle mass, poor concentration, belly fat, low sex drive, depression. Limitless Male can eliminate these symptoms with testosterone replacement therapy and re-energize your life. Schedule a free consult at limitlessmale.com.
At the Home Depot, we have the tools to make gift-giving magic for all the DIYers on your list. If they prefer working on real homes over gingerbread houses, you can't go wrong with Makita Power Tools, like the 18-volt 2-tool kit for only $249, or the 18-volt compact circular saw for only $139. Get everything you need to get it done with new lower prices on Makita Power Tools only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
So I switched to Boost Mobile and got this free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone.
Why do you think they call it the Galaxy?
Maybe because the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a huge screen, and galaxies are huge gravitationally bound systems of stars rotating around a supermassive black hole.
And the phone is free?
When you switch to Boost Mobile.
Cool. You lost me at gravitationally bound.
Switch to Boost and get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer. New customers only. Excludes tax. One device offer per line. Only available on certain networks. 5G not available everywhere. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
'Twas the night before approval, and I heard all through the city. I want a nicer, newer car, but my credit, oh, what a pity. I wanted a truck, mama, an SUV, but maybe a car'd be more practical. We'll see. There arose such a noise on my radio, I knew right then I had to go see Approved by Joe. He asked, have you been turned down before? Still making payments on that old sled? Worried about getting Scrooged? Come here instead. With very quick work and very little pain, I heard Approved by Joe call them by name. On Chris, on Josh, on Sam, Don, and Lorenzo, on Andrea, on Kendall, let's get these customers handled. When what to my wondering eyes did appear, with $5 down, a credit approval, my dear. Joe wants your trade, he'll pay more than anyone, and his team quit until they get your deal done. With our For the People credit approval process, bring us $5, bring us your trade, we'll take out the stress. I heard him exclaim as I had the store in sight, happy approvals to all, and to all a nicer, newer ride. I'm Joe Clemens, and I'm your dealer for the people. Come see us at Capital City Automax or online at approvedbyjoe.com, approvedbyjoe.com, www.approvedbyjoe.com.
All terms subject to approval, some minimum requirements, ho, ho, ho.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Couple more minutes. Mike Leach with us. Mississippi State taking on Illinois, January 2nd, the Reliant Quest Bowl. Coach, are you going to tour the old pirate ship, or have you toured the pirate ship at Raymond James Stadium?
I never have. I've always wanted to. What is it? Is it just kind of a prop on the side of the stadium, or does it have some stuff? I mean, is there a quarters you can stay there? Do they have like
I don't know if you
swords you can swing around up there? Maybe a hat you wear when you're there?
I would think that you can fire a cannon or two. Obviously, a prop probably, but I mean, it looks like a normal pirate ship. I would inquire though about just camping out there, stay the night.
I'd inquire about its seaworthiness.
Yeah.
Do they serve grog? I mean, do they have? I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I definitely want to.
Well, that'll be cool. Thoughts on Illinois? We saw Illinois here in Lincoln in October, and Coach Billum has done a really nice job. Should be a pretty physical man.
Well, he's a great guy, and I've known him for a long, long time. And, of course, was a good player, too. Yeah, very physical. They're a lot like Coach Bielema. You know, they're just kind of a physical group on both sides of the ball.
Coach, a thought? Do you know much, or have you had any interactions with Matt Rule?
Yeah, I know him a little bit. Good guy. Yeah, good guy. I think you'll enjoy him. I've always thought he's a good coach. I mean, you know, I don't know what happened at Carolina. I suspect that, you know, the NFL has a funny way of cluttering things up to the point where it doesn't work. And then, you know, I mean, who knows whose fault that was. And I certainly wouldn't blame Matt right off the top. I think I've always thought he's a great coach. He's resurrected a bunch of programs. You know, the hardest thing in the world to do, I mean, resurrecting Temple and Baylor. I mean, now everybody takes it for granted Baylor's going to be good. Well, Matt Rule made it where people think that Baylor's going to be good.
You were able to really do well at Tech, and you did well at Oklahoma, recruiting Texas as well. But Matt went in there as a guy that didn't really have much contact in the state of Texas, and people swear by him.
Yeah, now that's really overrated. One of the most overrated things on earth. Now, Texas has great high school football.
Mm-hmm.
Great high school football, maybe the best in the country. And they're more committed to it, too. And anything people as industrious as the people in Texas are committed to is going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a false notion that, well, you can't recruit Texas unless you're from Texas. Well, think about how ridiculous that is. I mean, guy after guy leaves the state of Texas, goes and plays somewhere else. You don't need to be from the someone from the state of Texas. And then the other thing, if you just add it up, most people aren't from the state of Texas. Okay. And like for example, the guy you're talking to or the coach you're talking to, maybe he was born in Texas, but odds are reasonably high that one or both of his parents were not born in the state of Texas. Texas has always been a place that's very much like the U.S., where people move in, move out, come and go all the time. So, and then of course, I think, as people take pride in the high school football there and the dedication they have to it, and they want to, sometimes they get over their skis and try to make it a little more special. And well, the only people that can recruit them have to be from Texas. No, Texas is like everybody, else. I mean, there's stuff that's important, there's stuff that's not, and they are tough and smart and committed, and so other tough, smart, and committed people from anywhere can recruit somebody from Texas. So we're back to the first thing we started with, which is persistence.
Coach, have you had much time or interaction with Deion Sanders? I know he's leaving Jackson State for Colorado, but you and Lane and Coach Prime down in Mississippi this past couple of seasons.
Oh, I've known him for a while. I like him a lot. I've always been impressed. I mean, you talk about one of America's achievers, plays football like 14 years and 9 of them's playing Major League Baseball simultaneously. I mean, everybody forgets that. Can you imagine that, long NFL season? Well, but before that, you played 162 games. Sometimes he played a few less and got into football a little earlier. But I mean, that's amazing. That's not just that's crazy amazing. And then the sharp guy has a plan. I think he's going to do well. But I like him. He's a smart guy. And the other thing is if you think about it, I mean, he's dedicated to this. I mean, Deion Sanders doesn't have to be coaching football. I mean, he can do anything he wants right now. I mean, anything. And yet he decides, he wants to coach football and, elevate players, let them help them reach their potential and compete and create great teams. And so, there's a guy that's really committed, somebody that doesn't have to do it, but it's going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Coach, we'll end with this. It's the Christmas season. Holiday parties and dressing up as Santa. Have you ever been to a holiday party where Santa showed up, and have you ever had to play Santa?
No, not. Oh, wait. Way back in grade school, I was in a school play where I was Santa. Let me think. Yeah, I was Santa. One elf too. Let's see. Didn't really play Santa. And no, I need to get out more. Part of it is we got bulls in practice then, but in not a lot of costume-driven parties. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be bad to take a lap through a Santa suit party. Male, female Santa suit party. Who knows what may go on afterwards? But just take a quick lap and get in and get out and just get the quick visual, and then stay out of harm's way,
Coach, while we're talking Christmas, it is the season of giving. I want to get your thoughts on this. I know we said last stop, but I just got one more quick one for you. What do you make of your quarterback, Will Rogers, giving a gift to the head coach's son at your rival? Knox Kiffin asked for the towel after the Egg Bowl. What'd you make of that?
Well, that's fine. I mean, I heard about it secondhand, and these guys get asked for their gloves, their towels, everything else. Some of these guys are more generous than others. It was funny because some of those kids, I mean, and they'll go far as adults. I mean, some of those kids have everything from, like gloves to mouthpieces to, I mean, just an amazing collection of equipment, that like incredible stuff. And from both sides, I mean, those guys will hire me someday.
Mike Leach with us. Coach, Merry Christmas. Best to you and your family. We'll get caught up again, and but good luck in your bowl game. Always fun spending time with you today.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Good to take time with the Pirate, Mike Leach. Extended sit-down with the Pirate. Always good to get caught up with him. What's the latest on Malachi Coleman? We'll tell you next.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Prescription price required online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and discreet shipping if prescribed. You'll love your results. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Get BOGO savings on gifts for your whole crew and you, because it's buy one, get one 50% off at Famous Footwear for a limited time. Find kicks for your little guy and those court shoes you covet. Snag sneakers for your sporty one and show-stopping heels for you. Keep your daughter styling and look chic with new knee-high boots. We've got the famous brands to make their holiday season. Shop online and at a local Famous Footwear near you. Buy one item, get a second item of equal or lesser value for half price. Some exclusions apply.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Head to ESPNLincoln.com now and enter for your chance to win a $25 JetSplash Car Wash gift card. JetSplash Car Wash gift cards make the perfect holiday gift for anyone on your list and excellent stocking stuffer. Go to ESPNLincoln.com now and enter for your chance to win a $25 JetSplash gift card, and head to JetSplash.com to see complete info on their locations, hours, memberships, and offers. JetSplash Car Wash, Lincoln's premier spot for a spotless wash online at JetSplash.com.
I'm weatherology meteorologist with your capital city forecast. Winter weather advisory in effect tonight. Snow and freezing drizzle continue with a low of 26 degrees. Not much snow accumulation, but icy conditions. Friday, partly sunny with a high near 40 degrees. That's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Right now, it's 32.
Call John Henry's today for a $99 heating system service to make sure your home can handle any weather Mother Nature has to throw at us.
435-5555.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring me in the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast. The ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes. Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Radio is presented by Currency for all your equipment. Financing needs, go Currency. Busy show. We had plenty on Tony White. Mr. White, the new defensive coordinator per Pete Thamel, is headed to Lincoln from Syracuse. A good hour. So if you're a podcast fan of Hail Varsity Radio, we are Spotify and Google Play audio-wise. The video portion of the show, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. So check both of those options out. Show segmentized or just one big block. So do with that as you will. But about the first hour, we hammer the new DC hire.
And the 3-3-5 defense.
And the 3-3-5. So it's actually quasi-entertaining. It's not
What a ringing endorsement of your own show.
Right? It's quasi-entertainment to talk about the 335, right? But, hey, thanks to all of you who've interacted with us here on YouTube TV and the emails and the StreamYard. Hour 2, Coach Barnett, the in-depth double secret search / acquisition of Coach Prime. Coach Barnett's one of 3 men that was on the Buff board that helped make this hire. So how they landed Prime, it's a pretty interesting story from Coach Barnett. And then a couple of segments with the Pirate himself, Coach Leach. Really good truth serum from him on recruiting, right? He's in the living room. We know how quirky the Pirate is. Dear friend of the show for a lot of years, and he just kind of laid out how it works for him on top of wanting to go to a Santa costume party.
Well, I'm just imagining him sitting in my living room if I was a recruit, and him just going off on his old Chevy that he had back in Iowa, and then talking about going to Santa to a Christmas party.
He used to have to ride a bike because his car would break down from when he was coaching at Iowa Westland to go teach Sunday school. So the Pirates, pretty good.
What a story he has, though, from lawyer to high school baseball coach to I'm pretty good at this whole coaching thing. And
he went off one time on all the people calling him up trying to shake him down for student loan money. He's like, before I made it big, I mean, I was getting hammered. You have to look back. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, an interview he did with us, and he's talking about how he'd rather do time than deal with another phone call on student loan payments. Give me a week in jail. Give me a week in jail. I'll be fine. It's better than getting another student loan call. We'll get caught up with him after the new year, get his take on Season 5 of Yellowstone. We love talking Yellowstone with Coach Leach. Malachi Coleman has been busy. You have Coach Brewster from Coach Prime's staff, an on-site visit today at Lincoln East. Also, Syracuse University on site today to do an in-school visit with Malachi Coleman. So some good insights, too, on Coach Rule and Texas recruiting from Mike Leach.
And I know Malachi has really set that date if he wants to be committed by the early signing day, but I wonder if he ends up pushing it back to the late signing day. That is a nice thing to have in your back pocket whenever the school you're committed to ends up making a coaching change. You can draw it out a little bit more. I think he wants to be that early enrollee that can go and get spring ball out of the way right away, but I wouldn't be shocked if he were to push it back.
Jay Harbaugh, Michigan, also in town today to see Malachi Coleman. Thanks for your time. Thanks for spending it with us here at Hail Varsity. Tomorrow, Henry Lutowski joins the show, Bill Dolman and Brady Oltmans.